Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. I'm really happy to be here today, not only because of the announcement that we did just earlier this morning on Moody's joining Finos on the whole community, but also our idea on how can we take the effort and the investment that we've done on GenAI in the last couple of years or so. So my name is Sergio. I'm the Managing Director of AI and Quantum Computing at Moody's, arguably one of the coolest titles that one can have nowadays. And my job is really drive innovation within the organization. And we work across all the different functional units, organizational units, and with all our clients and partners on how to really turn every stone on what technology can offer us, not only in the financial industry, but beyond, right? On how these things are really changing the world. So I promise I'm not going to talk anymore about quantum because there's a lot on that. But GenAI obviously brings us a whole new universe on this. So our story on AI started a few months before ChatGPT. We started working with OpenAI about 6-7 months before that. And we asked ourselves, what is this going to be about? Is it going to make any big difference on what we do, on some of the use cases and so on? And then what we did was what many companies tried. We put together a very small team, and we tried to find a couple of use cases from the innovation side, right in the basement, doing pure research, and see what could come out of that. And of course, it was a disaster. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, these people were very smart. They did an amazing thing. But the use case that was chosen was maybe not the one with the biggest value for the company. None of us back then were actual domain experts on what we were doing. The technology was immature. And there was a lot of skepticism and fear. And that was very well based on this. So a few months after that, and then ChatGPT came out, and the whole universe exploded after that, we had to rethink how we approached this type of technology. Of course, we're a regulated company in a very regulated industry. We've heard about all the different challenges that we have from our legal and compliance teams and so on, and that's for a good reason, because the risks are there. So how do we go about it? Obviously, there's tons of use cases, and I'm sorry for the super packed slide here. I recognize it's too much, but talking about potential use cases in finance, we could stay here for hours, right? From writing credit memos, to supporting your quantitative models, to reading tons of pages of information, all your marketing and sales use cases. Customer support is a huge one. I'm sure you've read the news on fintechs almost replacing their customer support elements and the risks of that. Regulatory and compliance elements, right? Imagine if you could compare this DORA contract or this DORA regulation, what is it, 300 pages, something like that, with the newest version and the red lines from our legal team. Can you compare these two documents? And in less than a second, you get the actual differences. Imagine if you could answer RFPs automatically based on your own information. That is not a use case in the future anymore. Those are things that exist today in production. But it's not easy, because the reality is that whenever we go out there and ask people who has a use case in production, so who has use cases in production in your organizations? In production, used by, all right, so that's about 10%-ish, 12%. And that really fits with what we've been hearing the whole day today, right? Because one thing is doing a PoC, making it amazingly well. Another one is really convincing everyone that you have to convince to go out and do it in production. So yes, absolutely, generative AI is changing everything, and we have invested heavily since the beginning. We're a data company, so for us, it is being a night and day on how we go and approach our customers, but it is not that easy. So there's a few challenges. And I'm going to go over them and then see how we try to solve them. The first one is that, there's still classical machine learning and traditional AI. It exists and is great for many, many things. So don't forget about those things. Analytical models. Those are fantastic and have been proven to be tried and true for a long time. So do not try to use your LLM as a calculator or as a regex element, right? Not everything is a ChatGPT or an LLM problem. Challenge 2, keep the human in the loop. In the panel this morning, they really talked about this. In some industries, maybe they can afford to make mistakes like this. not in hours. We have to be much better than this. So when we talk about customer support use cases, we can definitely put a lot of tools on our own people to make them superhumans, but not to replace them. So we're talking about going much deeper and getting more accuracy instead of replacing things where we do excel. A lot of people ask me, do you think we will have AGI anytime soon? And, well, what is really AGI? AI today is much better than us at many things, yet much, much worse than us at many other things. So really the key is how do we do the centaur approach of getting the best of both worlds. Now, the data basics. I've seen many, many companies who just try to get on the train of generative AI, LLMs, and ChatGPT without having the data basics. Unless you have a solid data governance process, unless you have proper data quality and the right infrastructure in place, you're going to be in trouble once you move out of the wow effect demo to the board. So those are the things that you have to do before you actually reap out the benefits of all this. And obviously, the proof of concept is the easy part. It's really easy, much easier than before with classical machine learning. It's really easy to build a super nice demo where you mimic your CEO's voice, reading out loud some article based on your data. That's fantastic. Everyone, you get sparks in their eyes. And then they say, that's great. Can you put it in production tomorrow? Well, and it's much more difficult. Like, it can take you a week or a day to build something that looks amazing. I don't know if you've seen this podcast tool from Google that was released last week, a couple of weeks ago. Now you can get an automatic podcast that sounds absolutely real and amazing. So the next question that you get is, all right, can you do this with our content in a secure way and our own way of prompting the data, our own way of accessing the data? So, well, not quite. I'm going to need quite a few months to get there and quite a lot of people to convince. So what we did from the beginning was building our own little platform, our own little system that allowed us to create all these use cases that I showed you at the beginning in a safe way, in a ring-fence way. We called it, with a lot of originality, Moody's Copilot. Sorry about that. I think I'm good at AI, but not at naming things, that's for sure. And then we started going around, and this has been for the last year or so, talking to many, many players in the financial industry, big and small. And we get all the time the same thing. When we tell them, do you want to use our data in your own AI systems? So yes, I want to use your copilots or your assistants, but I want it merged with my own data, living in my own private cloud or in my own environment. In some cases, they say, yeah, I'm stuck at the proof of concept, so how can I really get into production? How can you help me convince my compliance teams to get in there? Is there anything that I press a button and I make this happen somehow? This out-of-the-box platform is great, whether it is from your cloud provider or any other vendor, but it is not enough because I need to get something more custom. I need to control the orchestration of the system between my data providers, any of the potential data out there, my own data in my own premises, in whichever format it is, and put all the governance in a custom and transparent way, in an auditable way, right? In a way that I'm compliant with all the jurisdictions that I work in. So the homework that you saw on the guy that was leapfrogging the stairs are the 5 pillars that we thought are mandatory for anyone who wants to put POCs into production. Generative AI, but really applies to anything AI. So how do you do data I'm going to kill myself with this. How do you do data interoperability between your different data silos? Nothing new. We've been talking about this for years, right? Entity resolution. When I talk about a specific company, how do I make sure that it is company XYZ, public on NASDAQ or S&P, and not the fruit shop down on the street? That data trust and lineage, and the licenses that apply to that. So how do you have a governance process in order to control what goes in, and that you avoided garbage in and garbage out? And an API architecture. So in a way that you can create tools or skills for your AI systems to access any piece of data across your organization. Right, so all those are the foundations that any GenAI platform should somehow have in order to reap out the benefits of generative AI at scale. Not easy. This can take many years. If you have done machine learning for quite some time, I'm sure you've done a lot of these things already, with a lot of sweat, certainly. But if you haven't, you have to start at least with API architecture and data interoperability, because otherwise you're going to have amazing LLMs that know absolutely nothing about your company, your data, or how do you deal with these things. And I'm sure you saw from the presentations yesterday and today how some companies have tried this in a very unsuccessful way and even getting into trouble because of using a chat box out of the box and then having troubles with that. So what we tried to do after that kind of unsuccessful way of doing an innovation-first, bottoms-up approach was, well, what if we actually create a team that instead of being an innovation team that goes into the basement and creates use cases, we build a team that focuses on empowerment and on creating things for everyone. So the first thing that we did right after blocking ChatGPT was creating a platform that was open for everyone. We did a top-down and a bottom-up approach from every single managing director, every single senior leader, to every single summer intern. Everyone got extensive training on prompt engineering, what are hallucinations, what things are good LLMs for, let me get out of the way. And how can we give them tools, a playground, a sandbox, for them to come out with ideas. Instead of having a group of people saying, these are the 5 things that we're going to do, we told everyone, now you are one of the 14,000 innovators in the company. So that went out on our town halls, to our board, to our earnings calls, every single place. And then we told everyone, now it's your job to figure out how can you use this technology to do a better job, to improve the work you do for our customers, the workflows that you work with, internally, externally, and so on. So we basically gave the responsibility to everyone. And we had over 800 use cases after 3S, curated, legitimate generative AI use cases that in some cases were built by a central team, but in most cases were built by themselves. Because this platform had to take care of all the governance, all the different layers, all the distribution, the APIs, and so on. We called it, again, the Moody's Copilot. We also went together with people. This is a community thing, and no one can do everything by themselves, so we partnered with Microsoft. They helped a lot on this process, then afterwards with Google as well. And we established all the required processes in some of the other talks I'm sure you've heard about, how you apply a model governance platform, or how do you apply all the LLM licensing considerations and so on. But the magic was that instead of trying to build everything ourselves, we basically internally inner sourced the platform. We gave it to everyone. And even though our team was a handful of people that then grew into a few dozen, most of the contributions to the core of this platform were from different organizational units, different divisions of the company, and so on. So the skills, the tools, the assistants, the agents were built by the ones who really needed them. And that's how we were able to put in production quite a lot of those use cases in a safe way, in a way that our different teams and everyone could agree. Now, moving forward into 2024, we were able to have the proper baseline to start working with agents. So not only we were the first financial company in the financial industry with a production case in the market, the research assistant, but we're going to be the first one with an agent-based software in the market as well. It's now in beta. We're also exploring with the spatial computing. So what happens if we mix our agents with the Apple Vision Pro device, and we have a couple of avatars helping you making decisions as you go. So it's the perfect scaffolding to start working with your data and so on. So all this is brilliant. Okay, this is what we did. So what? At the end of the day, we started showing our clients this platform, right? A UI, a website with a lot of APIs, with a Slack bot, with a Teams bot that we built with Microsoft, with a lot of integrated skills. It was built for the financial industry, and it was built as a platform to be extended. But when we went out and started talking to clients about it, many of them told us, can you sell this to us? And that was kind of an inflection point, because that was not what we wanted to do. We're a data company and models company, and we have our products, that's great. But we don't necessarily wanted to make this an actual product. Yet, when we were out there and we gave people our RAG endpoints, retrieval augmented generation, specific API endpoints, our data feeds, and so on, we realized that most people, the ones who don't have use cases in production because get stuck at the POC level, don't have the right orchestration platform, don't have the right tooling or platform to do this, again, in a compliant way. So we thought, well, what if we do the same thing that we did internally, right? This platform that was built for developers with a fully documented API, with a fully infrastructure as code solution in a way that's compliant internally, that's using all these tried and true use cases, and has all the core skills from PDF stuff, Q&A on PDFs, doing website summarization, doing internet searches, OCR, spreading capabilities, you name it. So all those are my own examples on me using this. All the way to advanced creation tools, like uploading your own documents into your own Active Directory-focused system inside your own single sign-on. So again, all the bells and whistles that whenever you go and speak with your cybersecurity and IT teams, with your compliance teams, they're going to be asking you about. So I can upload all my meeting notes, all my MP3s, anything, and share it with my team and ask questions about it and create my own use cases. And then have a sort of a marketplace of tools. How do we use this? So we wanted to create a brand assistant. We recently changed our branding about, when was it, 6 months ago, 8 months ago. And we wanted to provide a little assistant to all of our employees to know, where can I download the new logo? Or what is the Pantone code? What are all these type of questions, right? So we created this tool, this brand assistant, in literally 1 hour and made it available to everyone. And it's also a little widget that appears on our own intranet so people can go and use it. But we also did a policy assistant, so I can go and ask things like, is this, I don't know, a business trip allowed for a domestic flight? Or can I accept a really expensive gift from a client? Those compliance questions that I'm sure you also get on your different organizations. So this was effectively a way to create use cases extremely quickly, extremely nicely, without having to worry about all the bread and the sandwich, just on the meat. Moreover, we started getting questions like, that's fine, but what I want is to combine my different use cases, even with my own data. So how can I combine the data that I have on my Salesforce, information that I have on Confluence, data that I have on documents that I want to upload that belong to my team or belong to a specific group? So how can we create an agent generation wizard where we combine all those elements? And then we created this little system that effectively is a drag and drop system where you add the different skills, and that gives you an agent that can go over those skills, knowing what to use them for, and then integrate that system into your own elements. So that is what powers our customer support system, for example, that goes over all the different support queries and requests that we've had, all the information that we have on releases, potential bugs that may exist because it goes into a Jira ticket and so on, and gives the customer support agent a pre-canned answer that they can go and tweak and modify and then put it in production. So then our customers came and said, again, Sergio, thank you, that's beautiful, but how can we use this? And when we started looking back into the agents, we said, well, wouldn't it be great if you could use this same thing, but instead of having just standard skills like uploading documents and generating images and whatnot, and on top of the Moody's data sets that many of you already may be consuming, like either news stories or ratings information, financials, and so on, you could also have your own skills in here and your own data. And in order to do that, that would have to run on your own private cloud, because we don't want that to run on on any other place that's not under our control. So that is why we decided to make this open source, and joining Finos was part of the strategy. So we're taking all those learnings from this internal platform. We're calling it the GenAI orchestration platform, or Orchestra, but this is a code name. But basically, it's a platform that has a lot of the goodies and bells and whistles that I've showed you before, that I've showed you in the previous slides. It's installed on your own private Azure instance, but very soon will be also multi-cloud. You're able to add your own skills. So you can create your own little connectors. If you, instead of Salesforce, you use SAP or HubSpot or any other system or your own private system. You can create your own connectors that belong to you, or you can send them back to the community and collaborate. But also you can leverage the existing skills. Also, where a lot of people get stuck is, which models can I use? Where can I deploy those models? Can I use open source models, or do I have to use licensed closed source models? So the system is agnostic to the model. And there's a full model gateway that does the load balancing steps, decides who can access what model in which regions, and so on. So a lot of those little things that are a pain at the end of the day and are not building the value that you want to build on your use cases, either for production or not, are already covered with this. And also leverages continuous development, like agents, graph RAG techniques, if you've heard of this, and anything that will be coming, because this is obviously just the beginning of the conversation. The platform is fully documented, so it's developer first, API first, all of that is fully documented like that and ready for people to start contributing. Fully open source, we're heavily based on LangChain. It's deployable on Azure, but will be deployable on any other component. It integrates with your single sign-on provider, but also with Active Directory. I think most of us would be somehow integrated with Active Directory in one way or another. It's compatible with most of the benchmarking tools and tracing, whether it is with Langsmith and others, LM Guards and some others. It has a full pipeline on document ingestion, so you can have all those use cases that are agnostic to the company out of the box directly on your cloud, and it's pluggable and extendable. So the reason I'm here and I'm sharing you all this is not only to share some of the things that work for us on the GenAI journey, on how to move from a POC into production, on doing this kind of sandwich approach and open innovation, and instead of trying to build everything and solve everything by ourselves, really give the tools to the people and tell them, now you have to build these things. So we have hundreds and hundreds of use cases being used by most of Moody's employees, about 85% of usage at the moment. And it's all about the atomic usages. A lot of us are looking for the killer app, right? What's this thing that's going to save us tons of time and money? And there are some, right? Credit memo writing and so on. But the biggest improvement is on the little things that you do. You spend 10 minutes doing this little thing every day, and now it is 30 seconds. And the tools are there. So the challenge is, can you, on your daily routine, instead of doing it like always, try to use one of these tools, the ones that you're allowed to use, whether it's ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, it doesn't really matter. Just try to use it. If you have Microsoft Copilot, for example, and you have these long, I'm sure no one has ever seen this, this thread with 40 emails where a lot of people are trying to find a meeting day and time zone and so on. No one has done that before, right? Just ask your Copilot, can you find the actual date and time zone and hour and day and all that everyone's, and it saves you from 5 minutes really scanning through so try to find those little atomic things. If you're in sales, if you're in marketing, if you're in communications, it's really what's changing how we work. So we want to make this part of the community and say, well, we've gone through this journey. We learned a thing or two. There's still a ton of things to learn, and there's always a moving target, but we're opening it to the community together with Finos. So we want to open and get friends. So if you're interested in participating in this as founding members, as initial members, we would be super happy to count on you. So you can contact me on LinkedIn or on the email. And if you want to know more about what the platform is about, some of the timings, it will take a few months to make it really completely open. But we're super excited to be here, share this, become part of Finos on the Linux Foundation, and start this journey together. So thank you very much. And I think we have a little bit of time for questions, if there's any. Please.
Yeah, it says fully open source. I didn't see what license.
So it's still under works. It's expected that we will go on to Apache 2, but it's not 100% confirmed. But it will be fully open source and yeah, on those lines. Please.
I
So the internal ones that are only like our brand assistant, no, that wouldn't make a lot of sense. But the platform that allowed that, yes. So you can build your own brand assistant or your own policy assistant extremely easily with your own documents. So you can upload your own policies with your own groups on who those policies affect, like maybe different parts of your organization and so on. And then that will allow you to create these use cases.
So the RAG will be part of this contribution?
Exactly. And it's not just a RAG, it's a RAG that works a lot with the metadata, and it's extendable. So you may have specific types of data that would require different type of ingestion, or longer chunks or longer types, so you can extend that RAG to fit your own rules as well. Please.
Sure. What vector database are you using for RAG?
Sorry?
What vector database are you using for RAG?
So we use, at the moment, the platform uses cognitive search, which is a kind of Elasticsearch-ish. We're expecting to move into OpenSearch, this platform. But it's a hybrid combination of embeddings and semantic search, and then different techniques to make sure that we get the right. But it's not just one RAG approach. So each use case may have different approaches to that, different chunkings, different ways of searching, and then even some judging LLMs and consensus on the response to make sure that you get the minimum amount of hallucinations possible. Yeah, not only PII, but also material or non-public information, and any other type of data that you may want or not want sent to the LLM, sent back to the user, or let it pass through but red flag it. So then you can have, so there's a lot of use cases in there. What the system is integrated today is with the whole content filtering system, but also you can integrate with another third party like Lakera or other tools like those that you want to integrate, depending on your level of maturity. So what we say is that there are companies with pretty high level of maturity that have their own ecosystem ready and their own architecture, and we want to make sure that we can plug in with those systems, but then that you have an out-of-the-box system that's as easy as possible, so that on your content filtering, you can fully block PII, for example, or a regular expression that you just don't like to share, and to what level, to what extent. So for example, we have a use case. This was very interesting. So in general, we block everything that's potential violence and this type of illegal content. But on our KYC use cases, we work a lot with controversies, for example. And those controversies are usually, by definition, bad things that you want to be able to flag and so on. So what we realized was, oh my God, we cannot use the standard LLMs for this, and we need to get a special license, and we need to have a different content filtering system because we want to work with this type of bad content that's related to the very specific KYC system. So depending on your use case, you may want to be able to configure what are the different elements that you put forward. This does not remove the need for red teaming your models, for example, and doing all the safeguards and evaluations and testing. So even if you have all the content filtering and all that, you always need a red team that before you go into production tries to extract data from the system, tries to extract PII, tries to get the model to do things that you don't want it to do, and so on. So the system is built so you can plug any LLM that you want. Okay. Because it has a model gateway that abstracts the use cases from the model. This model gateway acts like an API gateway, if you will. So you can deploy GPT family models in different regions and use that for your throughput capacity. So once you start growing, depending on whether you're using a pay-as-you-go model or a capacity commitment model, you can say, I want to use all these GPT-4 families, and these are my 4 regions. Or for this use case or this user, I need to use the region in Paris for GDPR purposes, for example. And you can have a backup. So, okay, if by any chance I run out of tokens in GPT-4, can I have an exponential back off and make the user wait? Or maybe I can go to a GPT-3.5 or a Llama 3.1 or something like that. So that depends on how you want to run it. But the model gateway, which is one component, is separate but part of the platform, allows you to make all that. Now you could say, no, I run my own Llama models in my own data center, and I just want to use those. So the only thing that you need to tell the model gateway is, where's the endpoint? How do I access it? Of course, make sure that the networking is all set, but it's model agnostic. So at the moment it's Azure, as of today. We want to make it as soon as possible multi-cloud. Eventually as well, depending on the demand, make it run on-prem, so on your own data center. It can definitely run on your desktop, because that's how we have the development environment. So the developers have that, but some components need to be on cloud. Like there's a model for a table recognition, for example. So there are components that are specific like that, but the roadmap will be defined by the community, really, in that sense.
How many months it took for you to develop this?
Well, I mean, it's an ongoing thing, and I wouldn't say it's done. I don't think this will ever be done, right? And this whole industry changes a lot. There's going to be new models, new architectures. So we want to make sure that this is what allows the community to plug in all these things. But we've been working at this for 1.5 years. So it's...
So a lot of what you spoke about the data center, right? Train a copilot, and how do you think that would work?
Right. So I'm going to try to answer quickly because we have to move to the next session. But I imagine a use case that uses classical trading models and classical time series analysis and the usual stuff that mixes with adverse media and news and market-moving news and uses that as an orchestration. But the LLMs are not going to replace your classical models or your quantitative models. But it can help you making decisions and integrate it into your workflow. But sorry, we have to wrap up, but thank you very much, everyone, and happy to answer more questions later.
Good one. Thank you so much.
Thank you.